It's
Yes.
definitely time for plastic climate and the future.com.
Future.com. Yeah.
Boom.
We did it again. We did it again. We did it again.
And
Nicolo
we
is
see
still
a
sitting there.
smiling face, not a scared face. So we see a smiling
That's good.
face. So it's
We're
good.
getting
I think
better.
That's
I
great,
think
guys. That's great.
I
You always
think
need to start with some comfort zone.
yeah, you cannot
Maybe.
get worse than we did now. Well, like
Yes.
we made the fools. We always make the biggest fools of ourselves in the beginning, so that our guests feel very comfortable. Because it from here
The only
it
way's up.
goes up. The level.
Only way is up from
No
here, man.
expectation, man.
But yeah, of course, no, we have expectations, but you will see in a bit with our questions. But first of all, I think we have to tell to our guests who we have here, and
Who do we have?
you already disclosed someone from Italy. I love this accent. And we have Nicolo Giusti.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And he is someone with a background in textiles, but also very much into materials and education. And we will have a couple of different topics to discuss today related to sustainability. But
Mhm.
first of all, Nicolo, maybe you tell us from your side, who are you? What brought you actually to the field of sustainability? And yeah, what's your professional background, and what are you doing today?
Yeah, of course. So no, thanks first of all. I mean, congrats for this podcast, and keep doing with you did. I don't know the number, but a lot of episodes. So I used to have a podcast, and I know how much time it takes, and how much you need to be dedicated to that. So really, congratulations to that, and thanks for the invite to this podcast. So I'm honored to be here. And yeah, you said, well, I'm expert, let's say expert. I worked since more than 15 years in textile, but also I started with leather. Started
Mhm.
working with an Italian company called Thoughts that they make shoes with their group, and I used to do material research, so mostly leather, old Italian high level good tanneries. So I started in a really nice area, in a luxury area, and then I married a Japanese woman, and then we had to find a middle way, so we moved to the Netherlands, and
There you go. Makes complete
exactly.
sense.
So now we have an Italian in the Netherlands. We have an American in Belgium and a Polish guy in Germany.
Great
So,
picture.
and I think we all have our female parts are all from different
Yeah.
countries. There's a lot of
We can put
similarities.
6 flags in 3 people.
Yes,
That's right. That's right. Yes. Yes, indeed.
But
So, oh wow. So I know from learning some about you, Nicolo, and having had a chance to meet you briefly earlier this summer at World Biomarkets in The Hague, that you're basically balancing roles with what you're doing today in your career. My understanding is you're doing some sourcing for companies like Tommy Hilfiger, which I'm sure our guests or our listeners will know of the brand. And also, I'm really curious about this sustainable academy that you've also formed and founded, and just curious about the balancing of these two roles that you have. What inspires you to do this? Why are you doing this?
well, I think we were talking about the middle age crisis before, right? No,
Yes.
partially. No, but I think, of course, I have passion on material, on fashion material, starting from leather to textile to education. So first, I learned a lot about leather. Then I learned about all the plastic world, And then all the textile, of course, I always been using footwear and accessory, especially. And then I always had the focus on sustainability because I don't know, maybe my mother always teach me to don't waste things, uh,
Oh, wow.
and then you grow up like this, and then you I don't know, you go to camp to helping kids, and then build up a little bit yourself in that way. Uh,
Hmm.
and I think that the breaking point when I start to hear the term vegan leather, and I was in that field, and I knew that was plastic, and I knew also where this plastic were coming from, and I've been visiting some supplier, and was all but sustainable. There was like ladies on in the 20s, 30s with working on solvent machinery
Hmm.
that make polyurethane that use solvent, and of course I didn't want to work with that kind of setup, with that kind of supplier. But then you hear the people that they work with, and then you hear the word vegan leather, and you say, "Come on, guys, here there's too much greenwash." That's where we start with the greenwash, and then I start my YouTube channel called Sustainable Talks with NNN, with Nicolo,
Hmm.
and we start to do interview to people that do something on sustainability, sustainable material, but also association, but also professor of sustainability. So we had a pretty good 6 months, almost 1 year, I think. I think it
Hmm.
was too much to combine the both the things. So at work, that's what pay my rent, where I try to always apply as much sustainable practice as possible, measuring all the performance supplier based on KPIs and objective, unbiased, as much as possible feedback.
Hmm.
And then Sustainable Academy start from that project. From that project, we said we need to do education, and I need to do education, need to do something. And then I start to have this community 1.5 year ago, and I spoke with few people, and they were pretty excited about the project. They were really motivating me. So, and then I start. So there's a platform, online platform, where we meet at least twice a month, and always have a
Hmm.
special guest that talk us about whatever topic they are expert on. And their time it's
Hmm.
me talking with the community about the Q&A, or go specifically on certain point where I can share my experience so far, and we can discuss. And it's really
Hmm.
good for me because it's a platform where we can learn and share. So there's everybody
Mhm.
has different experience, and everybody that I try to bring in, they are really good on some vertical. That could be leather, or could be mycelium material, or could be certification, and so on. And then we try to talk at that level. Last week, we had a guest in the microplastics
Okay.
from a company UK that makes filter uh, for washing machine, but also for industrial washing machine, to capsule microplastic. And then it was really, really interesting. And there was a lot of people of the academy that came over. So it was interesting to see where we'll go. So, and then I think that was gives me energy,
Hmm. Hmm.
and yeah, maybe one day I would focus only on the academy, but I think it takes that.
Wow. Well,
Ash
Matt, before just turning it over to you, I mean, it sounds like we have a kindred spirit among us. So it sounds like you as well are into this because of a passion that, as you say, maybe comes from your childhood or wherever.
Sure.
But you certainly have a passion for what you're doing. I mean, that's really inspiring for sure.
Yeah.
and where can people find it? Like, so you meet online, you said? Is it like, do you record the meetings also? Do you have like, create content that can be accessed then to
Yeah,
others?
there is a community platform that is called Circle.
Hmm.
It's a pretty nice community
Mhm.
platform. And then what we do in that community, we put posts on things that we find interesting, like new innovation or some in practice
Mhm.
to like be aware, don't do this, or also check with the expert on a certain topic, is it really sustainable or not? So that's part of the
Mhm.
chat and article sharing, and then there is the live part. So there is the live twice a month at least that is recorded. Everybody can join, but then if you not join,
Mhm.
you can still watch the recording in the platform. You can still put question if you still have question, and then we have the Q&A of the month where people send question in advance. Uh, we is more
Mhm.
open talking about certain topic.
Could anyone join? Could Matt and I join this as well sometime? Is it open to
Of
everyone?
course, there is at the beginning, keep it.
If we don't sing, if we don't sing.
We won't sing, yeah.
Yeah, you can also sing. I think it's
Yeah.
a pretty open community. I think we accept. No, but really, that's the good thing. We have students from really experts in the business, to students that are coming from university or from school, and then
Mhm.
everybody can
Mhm.
sign up. Now there is the subscription plan. At the beginning, I tried to open up to everybody, but there's also cost that I need to try to
Mhm.
cover, even though I'm paying
Mhm.
for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
you can apply with the plan. Mhm.
Okay. All right.
And the material topics that you mentioned, is it only related to textiles or textile industry and anything that
It's about
is
fashion.
connected to this
It's about
fashion?
fashion, Matt.
Okay.
So we talk about
Mhm.
material mostly, of course, a lot about leather. There's a lot of footwear. There's a lot of accessory,
Mhm.
but also we go into apparel. We go into denim
Mhm.
world, certification, and all around what is around the product of
Mhm.
fashion product, basically. And of course, I don't go to other field because I don't have a clue. And even though I have the passion, but I think it's good that you know what you're talking about, more or less.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, especially when we talk about greenwashing,
Yeah.
right? So it's good to have science-based and fact-based discussions. And how do you see like the interest from the consumer side, or like who is actually who are your community members? Is it like experts, or do you see also from the broader public, broader consumer side, do you see an active interest in these topics and in educating themselves, creating awareness and stuff like that about these topics?
Yeah, good question, Matt. Is actually a pretty good mix. There are some people, like professional people, uh, that's even more expert than me in their specific topic. They're passionate like me, and they're excited about the idea of sharing and learning and connect with the people. So there are that type of people. There are designers that are a bit fed up with all this mass production, cheap, price, but they really want to have a more holistic approach in sustainability, and they don't find any course out there that can really teach them the
Mhm.
sustainability. And I mean, you have that course, you finish, and then it's done. The academy is something
Mhm.
that is ongoing, is always ongoing. So you keep on learning continuously. And then there are
Mhm.
the students that are coming from schools, like again, also can be a fashion designer, but also can be someone that want to focus on material, or work as a sustainability manager in a brand. There are also a lot of innovators in the platform. Uh, so there's really a mix of people. Most of them, they are passionate about sustainability and fashion. That's the two tickets that
Mhm.
link all the people.
And you just mentioned the designers. Let me just quickly jump on that because what I've seen, I've worked the last 3 years actually also a lot with the textile industry on circularity topics. And me as an outsider, because I'm a material nerd, but me as an outsider, I see that the designers more and more take the role of sustainability advocates, and they acquire the knowledge and are interested in rather complex, production material topics, and they're very much interested. And also brand owners in the end who were maybe designers before, they seem to me to drive the whole discussion also about sustainability in fashion and sustainability in the broader textile industry as well. Is that something that you would also perceive or that you would agree on? And do you see that the role of the designers is changing now because they have a power on, choosing the materials, also helping to close the loop maybe due to their choices many times, or, design choices that make products maybe also more sustainable due to the construction part? How do you, as an expert, see that?
Okay, I think that it depends. Like you have the design that work for the high-end fashion brand or for the brand that is very, very important. The look that they don't compromise the price, right? And in that case, it's very important, the impact of the designer on sustainability. And you see that there is more and more awareness to push into that. Then there are designers that are for all the bought price aggressive fast fashion things that they call themselves designer, but it's completely different job. It's more like listening what the
Okay.
merchandising has, put all the things of the puzzle together, maybe more graphic designer, maybe. And that
Mhm.
in that case, there's not much power. I don't think they have much power to decide to go to more sustainable material because eventually it's all about price. So, and then, if you want to go to a sustainable material, most of the time there is a price to pay, or you really make a good planning and you make agreement with your supplier and you make really strategic plan with them. That's, but then it's more difficult for the designer to get there.
I think that's a good point. I mean, I would say that when I was younger, go 25 years ago, maybe even longer, I was working in the chemical industry, developing polymers. I'm one of these guys. And at that time, companies I worked for, which were world leading companies, uh, with respect, we never did talk about sustainability or end of life, anything like that. And today, even during difficult times in society that I referred to, they have departments that are focusing on this. It's part of, if you will, the price of admission to participate in the market. But I agree with you that there has been a change, even when times are more focused on, if you will, the more immediate needs of survival. Let's say it still seems that there's been a shift in society, in industry, that is including topics of sustainability, environmental concerns, circularity, etc., seem to remain still, relatively speaking, in focus. I think that that's a good evolution in society.
I think
Mhm.
regulation are very important. Like when we met at the World of Bio Market, we had a panel
Yeah.
discussion with my colleague Dana, and it's all about that for us. Like we need to have clear guideline, especially for big corporate. You need to have clear guideline of what you have to communicate, what you can communicate to your customer.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh, oh, yeah, you mentioned the term a little bit earlier in the discussion, the word greenwashing, and it kind of weaves into what you've just been talking about as far as, what can we talk about, regulation and so on. Um, for me, greenwashing, um, I'm curious how you see this as a challenge for industry to deal with. It's a big issue out there as far as either promoting, trust with the consumer, or destroying trust with the consumer. How would you suggest navigating the the issue of greenwashing, how to avoid greenwashing, and perhaps the role of transparency in helping to alleviate concerns about greenwashing. Um, I'm curious to hear someone like you who knows a little bit about the area that you're working in speak on
Yeah,
this.
I mean, that's a good question, John, because with our YouTube channel, we started because we wanted to avoid greenwashing. Also, the academy to avoid
Yeah, yeah.
greenwashing. And look, I have to start saying that the greenwashing exists because exists sustainability and sustainable claim. Honestly, I don't believe in sustainability. I don't believe you can define such a thing as sustainable thing. You can do things better, more sustainable than other things, but there is not a thing as a sustainable product. What is a sustainable product? Every product needs an impact. Every product needs a material, need a manufacturer, have an output, need to have as an end of life, need to be disposed or recycled or reused or whatever it is. Every product has an impact in the environment. I think we start to claim things as sustainable. Once you start to claim things as sustainable, then you're already doing greenwashing. I believe that in 5 years from now, it's like COVID. We forget that was existing this thing of sustainability, but we just, and probably is my hope and my wish, gonna talk objectively about what is in that product, what type of material. How is, because now, for example, everybody says, yeah, recycled polyester is a sustainable material, right? Okay, fair enough. But maybe someone else tomorrow come with the research. Let's say, look, to make recycled polyester, I need to, there's a lot of microplastic that goes into the environment. I need to use more energy that use virgin polyester, is less than virgin polyester. So then recycled polyester is not anymore sustainable. So we were working so much with the assumption that this is sustainable, but actually it is not. So in the YouTube channel, we had everybody, we asked the first question is like, what is sustainability for you? And everybody give a different definition of sustainability. So I believe that to tackle greenwashing, we should just say what is there. Is it recycled polyester? Say recycled. I don't need to say that it's sustainable. It's recycled polyester. If you data, hopefully in the future, we'll have more and more data about the environmental impact of doing this polyester and this product, then you put it there. How much water has been used? How much energy has been used? How much CO2 has been emitted for that? End of life, repairability, all these things. These, I think, if you want to do a good job in sustainability, I think you should try to be communicate as much as possible and inform and make aware the customer of what is in that product.
So it's rather about being transparent,
Definitely.
right? And I think rather about allowing also, or opening up a level of information that is very honest and maybe also discloses some things that you, as a trade secret, you wouldn't disclose. But then this implies that probably greenwashing, I like this comparison with COVID. So that greenwashing at one point in a couple of years will disappear anyways, because, it will be all about transparency. Also, what I hear from this now, because I'm in the space of circularity, also because, when we start building the value chains to close the loops around different resource streams and end of life treatments that bring in back resources, it will be regulated as we have it now already implied by the upcoming regulations to be as transparent as possible, say digital product passport, in order to continue our industrial activities, because it's not going to be possible to maintain the resource extraction over the next 100 years at this level, for example. We will have to adopt some kind of a circular economy anyway. So can we say that maybe it's gonna just the term greenwashing is a transitional term now until we have enough transparency in the system so that we can close loop,
Yeah.
right? Sounds a bit
No,
philosophical
but
now, but
absolutely. I think we can put like a meeting in 2 years from now and see how much this word
yeah.
is still in use. I think is a very good point. And I want to add one more thing, Matt, because that's what we never think about. I mean, in one of I think our last podcast I did with an Italian fashion designer consultancy, Silvia Stella Osella, was like very interesting. She was saying there's not an unsustainable product than the product that nobody want to buy, and we never do this.
Yeah.
Focus on the aesthetic of the product, like to really make a product that people likes, that people want to buy, and they can last for a long time. Like a sustainable design, a sustainable that's not for one season, but a sustainable design, of course, modular with sustainable material and so on. But is a design that in 50 years is still modern, and that's the most difficult thing that how used to be in the past probably, but is not common sense anymore. It's very difficult right now to find something like this, and there's so much waste. There's after when there's a crisis and people don't buy in the shop, there's so much stock from brands. There's so much brands throw
Yeah.
away that we really need to think about and focus that this is one of also of the most important part of sustainability. We only think about sustainable material and leather to think it's not really. I mean, that's of course a part. Everything is a part, but I think that the design and the sustainability of the design is too less consider. And sorry that I come back to the question of before when you were talking about design actually, but yeah, I just wanted to I think to highlight this because I think it's
Is what you're saying that it's better to design a product that is highly desirable by the by the buyer because that product will then be regarded in higher value once owned by the buyer and will just have greater value for the product and therefore tend to hold on to it longer, tend to be regarded as something that can just be thrown away if they get tired of it. Is that kind of what you're trying to say?
Yeah, it's kind of thing like this, but it's also like don't just think that you're doing a sustainable product because you're using a more sustainable material. Sometimes your design doesn't look nice. So you use the most sustainable products in the world, and you still have an impact to produce that, right? So that and so on.
Right.
But if nobody wants to buy that product, why you're wasting time on that? We in the past we did a lot of these things in the past few years, but we need to really focus on using good materials with good sustainable feature for a good product. That's the key. Yeah,
That's the point. Okay.
I mean, you see this also in the food industry, right? The overproduction of food that is basically not necessary. So no matter how well you produce it, but in the end, the biggest impact comes from not the production itself, but then the waste that you create afterwards and the energy that has been used or the resources to produce something that you in the end throw away, right? So then the impact of the product itself when it comes to its manufacturing or materials is not as big as when you say, okay, we have 30% we just don't sell or we overproduce or stuff like that, and this is a problem of the food industry. But coming back to more material topics,
Yes.
as a plastic climate future, we need to also have that connection to the plastics, material topics, and so on. So,
stuff,
yeah. Although I like it very much to, have a little bit more, the discussion on the fundamental meaning of sustainability and our awareness of it. But I mean, as I know, you are very much, or your expertise focuses on footwear, right?
To accessory
Um,
mostly.
yeah. So what are the challenges? Like what is like your daily work, or where do you see now like challenges specifically in footwear? Because I know I think if you look at the textile industry, footwear is very complex products also from the entire fashion sector. So what are like some examples of things that you're dealing with? Like, you mentioned leather replacements and stuff like that. What are other topics that are currently creating a lot of impact where it's difficult to, change things or find end of life solutions, or I don't know, designs or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
this?
There is a quote that's there in net. It's like footwear is the most complex product, right? That's what just said. If you go to the FDRA website, the Footwear Distributor Leader of America, they do a lot of education actually. It's an American association. And
So what's the name of the website?
FDRA, Footwear Distribution Retail of America.
FDR. Okay, I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
they're really good actually. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And they say make more sense to compare shoes to a Tesla than a shoes to a garment, to a t-shirt. They have more common ground with the car industry than with the apparel industry when you think about the shoes, because you have average between 30 and 40 components for each shoes, 30 to 40
Yeah,
components.
yeah.
So when you say, I want to make a sustainable product, where do you start from, right? You say, yeah, make the upper.
Exactly.
Let's say, yes, I change the leather with the leather alternative, considering that will be a more sustainable way, but I don't think it's a sustainable way personally. But then all the other components in the shoes. So actually, if we have to consider the biggest impact of producing a shoes, we have to think about the highest weight, that is the outsole. 40 to 60% of the weight of shoes is the outsole. And the outsole is made out of plastic. EVA, rubber, synthetic rubber, thermoplastic rubber, whatever you find. So, and that I think is where we didn't focus yet, because everybody is thinking about Stella McCartney arrived and say, yeah, I save a lot of animal because I don't use leather. And then I'm like, no, you're not saying nothing, because there's no animal that are killed because of the leather, unless you're using crocodile, right? Just doing greenwashing. If or you are ignorant, or you're doing greenwashing. So both the case, I think not in position of that. I mean, I think she's very good, because to sell a plastic product for 800, 900 euro, I think you need to be really a genius. But that if they make profit. But I think the focus we really need to put on that weight of the shoes, right? The output of the shoes is the major weight. Is all plastic. We need to find bio-based solution, different solutions that are able, that are still durable, that still have the good performance, but they are more bio-based content, more easy to grade, have less impact to produce. So I think that's a big part that is that there's not much let's say regulation also around that. If I want to use a bio-based material for my outsole, it's very difficult for me to claim it outside. Because
And how as far as, so 40 to 60% of the weight of the shoe is the outsole, and this is plastic TPR based, and you say that if you want to make a difference, this is where you need to focus on deploying bio-based materials and so on. What is the kind of the state of the art there as far as making headway in that regard?
I think actually there's a lot of companies that are starting to work in that direction. For what I see, it's there is not a huge price impact when you move into this direction, but I think there not also is not regulator enough yet to understand all the things that are out there is real, what is fake. Of course, a supplier that want to sell your product, they tell you this is bio-based dot percentage. Of course, then you do your test and you check your but also then you go back to understand where is this bio-based coming from, right? Coming from I don't know, algae, and then you clean the environment, so it's even a plus. It's coming from food waste, or it's coming from something you have to grow to create that. So I think that then you go into that discussion. But I think there are more and more options out there, but there is not regulated enough for the industry to go out there and claim that I'm using it. I don't know, 50% bio-based out of this content, potential in terms of industry, in terms of regulators. And I think the regulators only talked about apparel, and when we go into footwear, it's too complicated, and then they don't want to take that's
Yeah, but I've actually because I was working on the standardization of the circular design or the development of the circular design standard for the European Union with the CEN committee, and it was indeed like this. So we said, well, let's look first at apparel and garments, because footwear is so complicated. So this was simply the discussion. That's why we focus on that first.
But if you see,
and how about
but if you see the impact of a shoes versus an impact of now, because we don't have the numbers, right? Nobody's publishing numbers clearly. But if you see the impact of a shoes versus the impact of a garment, you will see a big difference. You will see where is really the impact that you can make.
And like, just from a material perspective, because you mentioned there are alternatives already popping up for also bio-based or renewable feedstock that can go into outer soles. How about durability? Like, do you know any alternatives that are really also competitive with standard solutions at the moment? Have you encountered any?
Look, in terms of outsole and in terms of insole, I think if you go out there in the market to the biggest supplier out there, there are several initiatives that are going into action. So right now it's really, you go to Linea Pelle. Maybe Linea Pelle is one of the biggest material fair for footwear and accessories. And you go there and you go to the biggest supplier, you will see that everybody has bio-based solution to show them. Maybe more expensive, 10, 20, 25%. They may have different percentage of bio-based. They may have different bio-based origin, but there is more. There's a lot of most of the supplier will have different option. You have a supplier with the algae also that they can put in the outsole, still a small amount, but you have that. You have bio-based polyurethane that right now can go up to 75, 80%. They still look nice. Then you can get to 100%, but then you have to compromise the look. So I can name you all of them, but I think if you go to Linea Pelle, you see a lot of them.
So there are basically
there are alternatives. There's not price neutral, cost neutral, but there are.
I just want to go back to very early on in our conversation this evening about the Sustainable Academy and about the role of education and awareness. When we talked a little bit earlier about the idea that the word sustainability may kind of go away before too long, greenwashing will be a term no longer referred to. And instead we'll be just speaking more about, okay, this product is made of this, and this material. How much do you see the importance of and the kind of how realistic is it that consumers down the chain are going to become sufficiently, let's say, educated in materials in order to be able to make decisions that would be in favor of better solutions uh, versus today. I mean, one always often hears that one of the biggest challenges is that consumers are not sufficiently educated on the issues of materials and dare I say sustainability and so on. Uh, how can we how can we help to make this happen where consumers are more educated?
John, you keep this question for the end. This is the Holy Grail,
The Holy Grail, yeah.
This is it, yeah.
It's we cannot be expert of everything, right? I mean,
Now we have one
Yeah,
more question. Don't worry. It's not the last.
and we still have another question. No worry.
I think the little thing we can do is continue sharing, continue do the work you're doing.
Yeah,
Continue the work
yeah.
I'm doing, and then trying to educate people, being aware that of course they are driven by marketing stories of the brand,
hmm
and they will take time. You need to have a
hmm
little patience.
hmm
But I'm also confident because it was 3 weeks ago. I was in the University of Amsterdam at a business school, not a fashion school, but a business school. We are talking
hmm
about the future business model for fashion. And the question I get from these guys, 20 to 23, 24 years old, all the question I got was like on point. There was not the question like, I don't know, 5 years ago, it will happen that the next question is like, about vegan leather, about all these things, and you have to start to explain again what it means with vegan leather. That doesn't make sense. That is not a term actually.
hmm
And now you really get good question, and you're like, and I think you get even inspired from the guys. So
hmm
I have good confidence, John, that we are slowly moving the things there. Of course, regulators will have to set up the bar
hmm
because brands doesn't want to go into competition with these things. It should be like a competitive scenario, right? But you should
hmm
have this, basta, no discussion. So
hmm
of course, the customer want to buy a product. It doesn't want to learn most of the customer doesn't want to learn the history of where it's coming from, learn the supply chain.
hmm
Product.
hmm
But of course, they're making more and more question on points. So I think that the customer of tomorrow will be much more aware of the customer of yesterday.
hmm
And I must say, because we always look out or often look at the younger generation, but I've just last Friday, I was having a workshop with some industry representatives, founders from companies from the region around Nuremberg and, traditional German or actually Bavarian, or no, even here you have to say Franconian uh, entrepreneurs, family tradition, and so on. And I mean, it was the age group was above 60, and they were showing how they have implemented sustainability and circular economy measures, not talking about this, but really from an traditional economic point of view, like you mentioned in the beginning. Your mom was teaching you not to waste things, and that's basically when they saw some optimization problems coming, they just thought sustainably, and then they realized, guys, that's what we're doing already since many years. And this awareness is also there at not only the younger generation, but it's starting to come or be apparent in people of older generations, because they just realize, okay, that's what actually we were taught by our grandmothers or our mothers, and now we have to just come back to it. There was a certain period of time where we just thought, yeah, let's live like the kings, but did it work out, right? If everyone does that. So even there, I see there is a lot of awareness and basically awareness about sustainability topics, and then moving back to some of these models that give us hope.
Yeah.
Let's
And
say
I
it
think
like this.
is living as a king, this couple of generation that screwed it up a little bit, and maybe it's also our generation, part of our in that middle. I think they also lose connection with the value of a product. I remember when I was a kid, I tried to save money and to get something, and use something that you really like and you really would like to keep, and something that you remember. You still, after 20 years, I still remember that jacket, that pair of shoes. And with the fast fashion, this doesn't exist anymore, because you have 2 pair of shoes per season, and if you think 2 years, you don't remember anymore the shoes of 2 years ago. So you are actually more insecure of what's the product you like. At that time, I knew the product I liked. I still know the product I like. But when you have so many information, so many products out there, say, maybe this, not maybe this, not maybe this, maybe this. So, I mean, I know there's the economy system that need to go ahead, and then it's the capitalism that goes in this way. And we are going again into philosophy. But I think we need to start to think back, what do we really like? That would be really a great achievement.
I think, Nicolo, we definitely, we already mentioned in 2 years, we have to speak latest, because we need to find out what's happened to the terms greenwashing and sustainability by that time, but maybe even earlier. And it would be, of course, a pleasure if we can promote your Sustainable Academy also. I think we definitely will have a link to it in the show notes. But before we let you go,
Yes.
we have one of the most important questions of our podcast, and it's not related to plastics and sustainability, but to music. And I have the feeling that you also are someone who likes music, and especially with this Anthony Kiedis mustache. So we have a Plastic Climate Future playlist on Spotify that we usually populate with the choices of our guests or the suggestions of our guests. Do you have a song for us, or maybe two, that connects to your personality or to this podcast, so that you think it just fits for now?
Well, I've been listening your podcast, so I expecting for this question at the end. I was thinking about, but I think the song that comes to my mind is "Money" from the Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd. Don't give me that
Yeah.
doobity good.
And I think it's something that stays very, very modern, and it's something that is really still driving many decisions out there, even though it's something that came out only in the last maybe 70 years, before that much importance to money, right? Now, since this became important, we do everything based on that. And I think we should really think about, and that song I really like. I really like Pink Floyd, so I want that's
Very
That's a good
good.
one. Yeah.
Very
That's a
good.
good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have Pink Floyd. How I Wish You Were Here. We have that one, Matt. You can play that
Yeah.
on your guitar.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
We have.
Oh wow. Well, hey, For my part, hey, thank you for the time here, Nicolo. This is for me has been really fascinating, really. Uh, and I must say, just sitting here and listening to you talk, just everything about you just calms me down. So thank you for your time tonight. I mean that sincerely.
Thank you, John and Matt. Thank you for inviting me, for having me. It was very nice conversation together. Good that there are still people like us out there that spend the evening after dinner to talk about how we can change the world.